heavy footsteps from the apartment below, up the stairs and pounding at my door. I opened up. The Boy Scout captain, leader, whatever, my neighbor, was there, livid. "I'm calling the police," he roared. I slammed the door shut in his stupid, asinine face. I was frozen for a second. The walls were sweating. She was beaming triumphant hate. "You chicken shit, you arrogant fucker. I can't believe you did it." Another second elapsed. I flung the door open and leapt down the stairs. This guy had been a sanctimonious prick from the beginning, always trying to get me down. And his wife, conservative, submissive, young, condescending. I had never liked that bitch. Down the stairs I ran right to his front door. I banged on it, yelled, "Open up, you Boy Scout piece of shit! Get the fuck out here! I'll lay you out right here!" There I was at his front door. There he was behind it. Some seconds passed in silence. I went up the stairs slowly, back to my apartment and my loving partner. We looked at each other. I waited for the men with guns to arrive. They did. She went down. There was talking. Some minutes passed. I waited. She came back up, looked at me, sat on the love seat and said, "They're gone. By the way, you aren't that good a painter." We sat there for some time registering what had just happened. I saw that couple only once more and later that same day. They were packing his truck to move out. I didn't want to walk on their heads, so I left my own apartment for the couple of days it would take them to leave. And they did, and that was the end of that. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ambrose, Karen Huff, come on up here. We haven't seen you in a while. Welcome back. Give her a nice round, please. All right. Then we have David, then me, then Richard, then Jimmy, then Dee, just so you know who's coming up after. How you doing, by the way?
Oh, great. I notice I always follow somebody I have to look up to.
Good to see you.
Yeah, I am, by the way, trying to get a writer's circle started at my school. See how that goes.
Trying to what?
Trying to get a writer's circle started at my school.
With your students, you mean?
Yeah, with my students.
Okay.
We'll
Well,
see.
good luck with that. That can be a lot of fun. They usually like it.
Ho ho.
Right?
Beach haiku. If I write your name with a pelican feather, does that mean I love you?
Does that mean you what?
Does that mean I love you?
How do you get a pelican feather?
Well, they're on
You
the beach.
find them laying on the beach.
They
You
all
gotta
kinds
go
of
out
stuff.
beach more.
Pelican?
Yeah.
Amiga. This is for a friend who remains nameless and still illegal. She walked from El Salvador to California. In Mexico, she met Jose, an experienced coyote. He took her under his protection. She was glad. Better to be raped by one man than many. Jose bought her some pretty good papers when he knew she carried his child. He kissed her at the border. Cautionary note. Please don't make me the center of your life. I am no one's son, more a comet than a planet. So if you want to love me, come streak across the sky. But do not mistake me for some errant angel. 880 South. Dead tired beside the road. Are you lonely? Desolate? Going nowhere now? Or peaceful, happy, pressure-free? The world goes by, nothing riding on you. Because she was going to leave homemade apricot wine by his door without a note. Make him wonder. But what if he's diabetic or in recovery? She returns to her floor in stocking feet, encountering only the cat in the hallway. Revises her day's agenda. Rough sketches in charcoal. Not slender arts or expensive kind, but briquettes. From last night's feed at Tom's place. Messy. Crumble in your hand if you fail to exercise extraordinary skill and patience. On back of grocery bag, draws morning fog. While Roger from front apartments knitting madly purple afghan to cover his BMW, which he says is more constant than Janie ever was, the whore. Besides, it keeps him from looking ghetto to his peers, like Willie, who's wailing his saxophone behind Canisius, while Sherry Lee, she's wailing on her kid again for starting fires. Don't know what's got into him lately. And the cat, he refuses to care about any of that. Just waits to see if she appreciates the huge rat left by her door. Put up one hell of a fight, but she is just incapable of accepting it in the manner he understands she should. Which is what's wrong with many love affairs, don't you think?
Karen Elizabeth Hall. Keep the applause going up here. After the lights coming up here. After which we'll see, I guess myself, then Richard, then Jimmy, then Dee. So we're pulling up to the main event here. David, how the heck are you?
Good. I wasn't here last week, so I didn't know the theme. I've mentioned this before. I'll say it again. I was at the "I Have a Dream" speech. I was there in person, and what I learned is that a man without a gun is more powerful than 1,000 men with guns. And I also learned that the New York Times will report 1 million people as 500,000 people. So,
Oh, yeah.
Return of the 4 a.m. truck driver. 9 years of complete subjugation, obedience to every whim and suggestion of a fickle road offering adventure and travel at a very cheap and desperate price. Selling your soul to concrete, gravel, rebar in return for very little sleep, no social life, the right to retrieve garbage, pressure to deliver the goods on time while operating a lethal vehicle. Dump truck equals all the symbolism of unload and reload, shit and eat. Driving cross country in a vehicle which basically never stops 1,000 miles a day. Tasting paste, potatoes, mashed, more like thick soup which has been reheated at least 5 times in the steam table. You think it's warm in California? Not at 4 in the morning, 12 feet up in the air, dropping a hook at the end of a heavy chain through a wire mesh grid. Think of it as heavy sewing, which if you try it for more than half an hour, your fingers start to numb. It helps if your mandatory health insurance takes 20% off the top, and your boss is either a stone-cold racist, local familia, or a short, older black man who could rebuild the engine, yet constantly shortchanges you because addition and subtraction are beyond his ken. If you're unaware of the exact route and your load is too high, you can either get stuck under an overpass or tear out the roof of some filling station. Winter options in a tractor-trailer include looking to either side and watching your trailer still attached precede you down the road, or following the taillights in front of you in heavy fog until someone stops. Suddenly, At which point, everyone stops. Suddenly! Hazardous materials can be delivered or removed from Rocky Flats, Colorado, or new building materials can be brought to existing nuclear power plants in California, which lend themselves to a certain glow. Make sure your no-fault insurance is paid up. Driving with cracked wheel rims, worn studs, faulty or flaming brakes are all frowned upon by the California Highway Patrol. You'll notice that on some tractors accustomed to hauling steel and rebar, there's a steel wall directly behind the cab. This is to prevent inept crane operators from impaling you with the product as they attempt to remove it from the trailer. Here are some other fun chores you might want to try. 1. Running out of fuel in a diesel engine right where 580 branches to 2 lanes to become 80 at rush hour. 2. Having the airline on your transfer, that's a dump truck double, spring a leak at 5 a.m. on the San Mateo Bridge, which immediately causes the brakes to lock on the rear unit so you can jerry-rig it with whatever duct tape and thick sticky substance you have available. Limp off the bridge and wait for assistance. 3. Drive the boss's truck across the Bay Bridge in the morning commute as the transmission linkage gets loose, leaving you only one of your 18 gears fully loaded. Make it through 7 traffic lights. If you stop, you're not going to start again. Make it through 7 traffic lights, since you have no idle. Arrive at the work site to be unloaded while you call the boss and relate to him that he didn't notify you of all his vehicle's idiosyncrasies. 4. Stay completely ignorant of the fact your dispatcher is shortchanging the owner of your refrigerator truck. Wait for 9 hours in Nogales to get loaded with broccoli packed in ice, and when you back up to the loading dock, get yelled out and asked, "Where the hell you been?" Extra credit. Oh, and another number 5, digging yourself out of a snowbank in Albany, New York, with a snow shovel, a little shovel. That's fine. Extra credit can be earned by getting a flat tire, driving onto the scale in Georgia Friday night, 11:30 p.m., loaded with frozen chickens, or taking curves a little too fast, causing the third-class mail headed for Houston, Dallas, and LA and divided by flimsy separators to mix together. Or dumping hot asphalt onto the ground instead of into the paving machine, pushing you along in lowest gear, foot on the brake ever so slightly to make contact. It stops, you keep rolling on the ground. And finally, for the premature ejaculators in the group, there is an art to simultaneously accelerating gradually from a standstill while hydraulically lifting the bed, opening the tailgate, and evenly spreading your load to make it easier for your partner by not dumping it suddenly all in one place. Forklifts are your friend, unless, of course, you forget to turn it off when dismounting to the ground to adjust whatever you're picking up. One single father of a 7-year-old girl managed to run himself over and kill himself. Another night operator unloading the freight car still on the rails in the shed found himself impaled on a fork to the wall through the stomach until the morning shift arrived 6 hours later, giving him a little time to think about his mistake. Albertsons wisely saved money compared to Safeway by not hiring anyone or any forklifts to download trucks. Instead, they left a pallet jack for the trucker to do work for which he is not paid during a time span when he is expected elsewhere. P.S. Minimum tow for a big rig is $500.
David Everett, ladies and gentlemen. So I'm glad you read that. I wanted to hear that. I like that. All right.
Much as you feared, I am here. So,
I did actually prepare slightly. So, one of the poems I'm going to read, one of these poems I'm going to read is in my book here, Insight to Riot, which I have copies of, but we'll talk about that in a moment. Thank you for that, ladies and gentlemen. So when I was growing up, there were a few signature events which, Martin Luther King, he impressed me in a lot of ways when I was young and as I grew older. And so many years later I wrote this first piece, but these other two reference him. And I'm going to read the first short one first, then the one that references him, and then the other one, so, because it works that way. You say you are searching, that you cannot find it. You say you are lost. Listen, grasshopper, love is not a battleground where the bleeding losers are left strewn about to beckon for death's welcoming rap, longing for a final, gentle word or touch from God. And I do not serve angels. They have just about everything they need by now. As for you, aching in mind, body, or soul, who have that acquired taste for love, the thirst that seemingly draws one out of one's mind, I'll tell you what. You can find it simply enough. Go give nourishment to all tender beings. Feed every wide mouth. Quench all thirst for love. And love as you would be loved right where you are. Let your happiness wander no more, no matter where you go, and so be requited. Let your beautiful lips and supple, passionate flesh open sweetly to all the love you can imagine. Yield to its want and disseminate all those vital gifts you have upon this magnificent world of ours. Okay, and this one is actually, I wrote it a while back, but it's a debut piece here, and I hope it reads smoothly. It's called Martin to Me. There's an old spiritual about bearing the burden. As I heard it, I wondered about you, Martin. What scars still remain after all these years? The sharp-eyed folks who cut you, drawing lines at first with hate, and finally afterwards with love. But the eternity in one angry face had you polish the basics. Your breath, your voice. It's why your words found my heart these days, and declare after all these years that you are the man. The broad back that carried forth a new generation. When you came down from the mountaintop declaring to the crowd, I might not get there with you. You knew whereof you spoke. And I believed you all those years ago when you talked about the promised land, or when you wrote of God's love in that solitary cell all those years ago. About 20 million brothers and sisters suffocating for want. I believe it was those considerations that stared you back in the eye each day when you first looked into the mirror, which became a signature moment, that is to say, the least, a meditative prescript, a reflection, introduction, the preface, for what became your daily practicum, which was to act on the belief that each day was your very last. You bore it well, took your faithful passion to an American kind of hell, bearing its life and hallelujah banners through the darkness of solidified and stolid sweating white hate, walls of eyes upon you. You spoke all those years ago. I have to ask, who can live that way? Think about what it would make your first order of business to be. What pledges would you make? Actions to take? What manner would your address to others be? Would you give it up and let your fortune go for free? To what ends would your every breath be spent? And so I fail before such a comparison. I cannot live each day as if it were my last. Yet this is the challenge you present. Your eyes ask, do we not hear the same call? Your hands gesture, do we not still breathe free? How then, brothers and sisters, do we answer that clarion, the birth of light in the heart of a man and the gift of what that means to be human? brilliantly shining from ever joyful eyes, which is what I saw all those years ago when you spoke of having been to the mountaintop and having seen the promised land on that warm and final southern night. And this poem, it speaks to several of the things that he said, and it's called One Small Step, and that goes back to that time when, you know, the guy on the moon and all that stuff. One small step. It was a time of dreams, when hope, like never before, had everyone looking up. All around the world they said, we did it. Not Americans, not they, but we. It was such a time when we saw what we could do. Saw the fragile and singular blue, white, and brown and green disk rise above a haunting, dead gray horizon. When chance became in favor of life. When justice, favored by the arc of history, took us all to the heights, to that mountaintop, from where we saw our home as just one small place amid a terrible, cold vastness, dark. As then had us regard one another with a perspective that has made all the difference, and which yet plays out the world over, bringing us on toward peace. Thank you. I would have prepared.
All right, so thank you so much. Mr. Richard Sandero will be coming to the mic next. And then we have Jimmy, and then Dee, the teacher. So give this man a nice round of applause. Or a rectangle of applause. We'll do a decahedron. I'll stop that now because he gets annoyed at me.
Cindy's got her makeup on tonight. It's good to go out there and look at her today. Everything's shiny. Well, for some reason I've been sort of in a silly mood, so I've got two silly ones and one serious. Words above the page. I see my blank page, whitest of paper, where above words and alphabet floats, spins. I try to see what it says, what it is I'm supposed to write in all of our different ways. It does not let me see what the syntax is. It's like a word puzzle. It's all there for me, my rants, raves, prose, poetry, short stories. All there for all of us who have a blank pages before them. Play with your words and alphabet. Use them. Tell us of your rants, raves, prose, poetry, stories with all of their tragedies, loves, and glories. Join us. Share with us. Tell us. Belated Valentine's. Glove loses its mind. Glove loses its mind. I'm at the checkout counter when a woman comes running and in desperate, frantic. She says, "Have you found my glove?" I said, "Yes, I had. I found it desperate out in the rain in sheer terror. It looked in every direction. Looked, it was becoming untethered. People walked, and even a rat walked by. Blowing trash flew by, but the sign of its mate and its wearer were still out of sight. Gave this glove the blues most high." I decided to pick it up and take it into the store before who knows what would be falling. It wouldn't go, but I am stronger. I am man. It still wouldn't calm down. It was hysterical until you came in, and now it's home with you and its mate. The three of them made such a great threesome, I asked them if I could join. Beneath their feet. This is in the, I guess, the theme of the evening. And I would like to say about Martin Luther King, he also was trying to put solidarity back together. He was tying in the civil rights movement with the people who were fighting in Vietnam. So That was our sin, my generation, the killing of solidarity. So that was one of the things Martin was trying to do, and a lot of people didn't like him for it. But I will always have him in my heart for what he did. Beneath their feet, Black Lives Matter, evidently not in all places. Homeless lives matter, but not everywhere. Red lives matter, but not in this empire. Rich gringos' lives matter, more universally. Just watch. Without speaking a word, they will tell you, a look here, an expression there. Their lives matter more. Homeless man with someone having mental issues playing out in the street, or both, rhythmically taps on a newsstand. The empire threw him out in the street, and now there they remain. 1 block away, as a Black Lives Matter march ends, stands the gringo couple. Gringo lives matter. It's on their faces. Straight, unbent, dressed by the finest clothiers, they turn as they wait for the light to change, to see this man on his haunches, tapping. Never a word said between them, she nods her head. His eyes follow as they look in unison. It is the universal look of stepping into something foulest of the most foul, the ugliest of expressions of contempt aimed at this unfortunate man. As he taps his rhythms, one can tell he is gone, lost in his world of beasts. He seems to be enjoying himself, bothering no one. He is untainted by their presence. By their gestures, this gringo couple, lacking the milk of human kindness, are the ones who are besmirched and befouled. Their very humanity making their gringos' lives matter to who?
Yeah. Mr. Sandra, ladies and gentlemen. When I say it, but I can't say it anywhere. All right.
Mike, you turn the mic on? You can't watch blood. Got to watch it when you get that cord. All right, so we have Jimmy Jones coming up next, and then we have DL in the future. We'll take a small break. There's a couple of people that I want to put on the list because I'll have a chance then to do that. And I got a book, you got a book, all got a show, got a book. So talk to people about that. Mr. Jimmy, give him a nice round. This is not your first time, right? This is not your first time?
Not my first time, it's first time up here.
First time here?
Yeah.
Oh, give him a round. All right.
So I'm not much of a poet, but there was one, and I think he should be here, if he could be. He was born in San Francisco, Robert Frost.
I wanted to just be closer to the mic, so yeah. Go ahead.
To find his poem and read it. Dust always blowing about the town, except when the sea fog laid it down. And I was one of the children told, some of that dust is gold. All the dust the wind blew high, appeared like gold appeared like God in the sunset sky. But I was one of the children told, some of that gold, some of that dust is gold. Such was life in the Golden Gate. Gold dusted all we drank and ate. I was one of the children told, we must all eat a peck of gold. Robert Frost.
Thank you. Oh, here. Just put the name of the poem and then get it back in. Oh, there you go. There you go. Thank you, Jimmy. Come back. We like recitation. Sorry to have to come up here yet again. I know you're thinking, why is he doing this? Well, I'm going to introduce the feature. and I will make sure I don't have to say much. I like being brief. He is good. I could be that brief. But this person has a voice. I love this voice. He has a heart. I love his heart. But passion, reason, clarity, insight, heartiness, in the sense of having a heart and speaking from the heart. The man doesn't give quarter where quarter should not be given, and stands where he stands and speaks from there. So, Mr. D. Allen, I would say more, but I'd rather have them hear from you.
Give him a round if you come up here. I'm so glad he's here. It's good. I love it.
Baby.
Uncle. Although he was married into the family, I loved him as though he was blood. Uncle Ricky, Leroy Jones Jr., the closest thing to the father figure I had in my childhood. I already lived with one uncle by marriage, and that one I still can't stand. But my face always sported a smile whenever Uncle Ricky came down south from the Rotten Apple to visit. 5'9", light-skinned compared to me and his wife, Dee. Also, always bald, always wearing glasses, thin graying mustache, stocky in build, as if he could kick my skinny black ass and everyone on my block. Uncle Ricky moved like someone bold and sure of himself, a polar opposite of me in my formative years, insecure, quiet, easily discouraged, bookworm. Whenever he taught me anything, Ricky was a regular bartender of sorts, serving straight truth, unfiltered, no chaser. Uncle Ricky knew the importance of walking to a destination like I did, but he also told me to watch the ground closely wherever I tread, where I found 20, where I found $20, $10, $5, and hella single bills because of such sage advice. Hearing his voice over the telephone for the first time in 7 years, one cold December afternoon reminded me of one of the factors that helped me to become a man. Collector of many treasures, wise man, traveler, father figure, husband, role model, template of manhood, uncle, titles he's earned. Poppy. His was the first real subcultural presence in my family tree. In the early 1970s, he was the hippie through and through. Tall, lanky, fair-skinned black flower child with the big sideburns and afro. Faded Levi's and paisley shirts, sometimes a dashiki. Grandma Lily's youngest child, only boy. He always entered any room with a wooden acoustic guitar strapped on him. He used to sit on the front stoop and play country songs by John Denver, folk songs by Bob Dylan, Jim Croce, Cat Stevens, Harry Chapin, Joan Baez. For me and my siblings and cousins. Nothing like the acid-seeking hippies, nothing like the strutting Superfly, Shaft, Isaac Hayes, Huey Newton wannabes either. My Uncle Poppy, the only dude I knew who consumed 3 peanut butter and grape jelly sandwiches with a full mason jar of milk. The first in my fam, as far as I know, to be outspoken against organized religion and for racial equality. Also our first known vegetarian. To this day, I believe I acquired such beliefs from him first. Oddly enough, none of my relatives gave Poppy hell for marrying a white woman named Carol. Something good came out of that union. Jonathan, Poppy's firstborn son, as fair-skinned as both parents. Never knew him well, one regret among many. Poppy somehow stopped visiting me and the fam after 1988. Last time I heard anything about Uncle Poppy, cousins from New York City claimed that he died. Even worse, killed. Defended his apartment in Manhattan from some armed burglar. I never bought that story. Wasn't worth buying. The price tag should have been marked worthless. I'd like to think that Uncle Poppy is now 60-something. Hairline completely receded and gray along the sides. Still sitting on the stoop with his acoustic guitar in Manhattan, playing country and folk songs to another circle of intrigued children. Lesson. New York City, 1971. Caught in the act of tossing a candy wrapper onto the sidewalk. My mommy smacks my hand in reprimand. She orders me to pick up the wrapper I threw down and points to a curbside rubbish can. She told me, "You see that? That's where you put it, not on the ground." Small hand, sticky wrapper, open hole, can feed, where it all began for me. On the street, her earthy wisdom passed through my ear and remained embedded within me for all time. Consciousness, environment, earth care, green thought, cerebral seeds from which love for her grows. A giant talking owl, a giant talking bear, a sorrowful native tribesman shedding a tear over fields of trash. Where his home once stood, each told me through television that only I can stop fires and pollution. My mother, however, got into me before it ate.
See, I told you. I tried to anyway.
From the internet-only literary journal, River Babble number 27, this is a new one called Conundrum. As a twiggy little boy of 9, I was so curious about the bumblebees hovering over blood-red roses, flesh-pink roses, bushes filled with pale yellow honeysuckles that grew in my grandmother's yard. So curious, when I reached out to touch one, that bumblebee stung me with its needle-like tail, leaving behind a mark, swollen red, painful, on the caramel brown of my arm. Never touched another one since. There were so many bumblebees back then, practically in swarms. Every spring, pollination time. Now I'm older, a man of 47, taller, darker skinned, closer to chocolate than caramel. Still twiggy though. Another spring has arrived, and something's missing from the big ecological picture. Absence leaves behind a mark and a conundrum. Where have all the bumblebees gone? I hear different styles of music, but no distinct droning fills my ears. I see all manners of insects fly in the air, but no visible signs of the little pollinators paying any visits to East Oakland's roses. Extinction leaves behind a mark and a conundrum. Who will produce honey when the bumblebees are gone?
Oh, give it up, corn syrup. Hey, that's high fructose corn syrup to you. From GMO corn.
It's tea time.
I know. Or he's getting ready. So he's good.
I don't mind a and I could use like the interaction from the audience. What y'all got out of each piece anyway. The next one is another new one. This is called Richardson Bay. Bayside resort houses do impress me up to a point. The point at which I run into snobs that live in them on narrow suburban side streets. But I didn't travel all the way from East Oakland just to see coastline condos. I came to see in its entirety Richardson Bay, tranquil body of water surrounded by freeways and expensive suburbs where Canadian geese out of their element hide in Bothan marsh grasses. Ducks relax, float for a while, respite from the open sky. The snowy egret stands proudly on one spindly leg, feathery spot of white amongst tall cattails mid-afternoon at low tide. Water fills in odd patches. Otherwise, most of the bay is the ultimate mud flat. Feeding site for the seagulls, willets, blackneck stilts, foraging with just beaks, digging into the thick coastal mud for their meals, fresh snails below. Come sundown at high tide, the bay is full, restored, shimmering, wavy, living mirror reflecting shapes of clouds, lights from passing cars, hillside Mill Valley houses, looming large silhouette of Tamalpais, the mountain, in sunlight fading slowly.
I like the imagery.
That's what I saw while I was down there. I went there for my birthday, 3 days, at a hotel by the Richardson Bay called the Aqua, 4.5-star hotel. In the very back of the hotel is the Richardson Bay itself. You ought to check it out sometime.
I didn't know you were 47.
Believe it or not.
I wouldn't guess.
My birthday was on March 3rd, 1968.
Wow.
I'm going to turn 48 this March 3rd.
That is your year. Yeah.
I know. Oh, thank you for that. Here's another new one called Point Reyes. 4 years of dreaming about visiting that famous North Bay seashore. 4 years of pondering about reaching that mighty lighthouse above the tides. And 4 years hence, I was finally there. A break was needed from Eastmont, my neighborhood in Oakland. I haven't heard gunshots or police sirens ever in Point Reyes. Hawks glided in their own piece of sky above a valley in Olema, where the California grizzly once made itself at home. Horse stables, dairy farms, a model Indian village, a wild skunk hidden in the golden pasture, no commonplace here. A small family of deer scampered into the deep woods upon seeing a slim, bald, black intruder enter their domain. The elephant seals perched on coastal rocks, the legendary gray whales who send their song from the sea to watchers on shore, the fabled lighthouse that sends a bright beacon to sea-bound visitors after dusk, the rumored long incline curved and leading to the light of Point Reyes. We're literal miles away, remaining legends, fables, rumors to this big city boy. From my short break I remain, thankful for the few sights I have seen, regretful for the many I have missed. This is another new one called Sasal Creek. It connects with the Diamond Canyon Park in Oakland. Sasal Creek. Veritable art gallery stood up overhead, underbelly of Freeway Bridge, festooned with colorful spray can expressions. Graffiti was the least of my worries that moment, just on the move, following the creek among ivy and overflow, cascading down Oakland hills, dripping down tree branches, stream of cool water turned dry stream of rocks, broken in earthquakes past, wanting to know where Sasal ended, I kept on moving. Scaling over boulders like some lost insect who escaped from the inner city. Occasionally, ridges of concrete stood between each succession of rocks. A dark, ominous tunnel, another canvas for crowd. Painted messages and shapes inside and out waited for me where my journey stopped and water flowed anew. How y'all doing tonight?
We're pretty good. I'm fine. You sound good.
And the last piece I'm going to do tonight is from the anthology Living in the Land of the Dead, Volume 4. Published by our good friends at Faithful Fools Street Ministry.
All right. Give them a round. Faithful Fools.
Located on page 5. This is called Monarch for Johanna Wedgwood. 1941 to 2010. Fast asleep, heartbeat slows to ceasing after the stroke of midnight. And then Johanna immediately rises from slumber, from her bed, upon spotting a wandering monarch, the bear the rest of humanity declared a king of its species. Johanna follows the great brown bear from her bedroom door, serving as a threshold to a warm, sunny forest of redwoods and aged oaks and dirt trails formed from human travelings, where she has free rein to commence her spiral dance. Tributes paid in graceful movements across soft grass to all 4 directions, the yin, the yang, and her beloved chosen goddess. The monarch bear, spirit animal of her literary lifelong prayers, led her here. Johanna is the iconic, poetic, druidic mother of a new grove in the hereafter.
One more.
I dedicate tonight's performance, my featured spoken word performance, to 2 elders that I've respected in my life who are no longer with us. Leroy C. Jones Jr., my Uncle Ricky, who had just died in November, right before Thanksgiving. And the original host of the Wednesday night Sacred Grounds Poetry Open Mic, Johanna Wedgwood.
Johanna Wedgwood.
A brief moment of silence for Uncle Ricky and Johanna. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yell, ladies and gentlemen.
So you want me to do one more? How much time do I
You
have?
got a couple of minutes here. I don't want to just do short changes.
A couple of minutes.
Yeah. So you can put something in there, and then we'll take a break. And
Let me see if I can throw
The
that
Hallelujah
more for
dance.
y'all. Because I've been working off this little set list.
all right. thank you for the recognition to your uncle and to Joanne.
Anytime. And this last one is for all you San Franciscans in the room. Have any of y'all ever visited McLaren Park?
Oh, yeah. I used to live there.
Let me see a show of hands for y'all. All right, like half the room has been to McLaren Park, and maybe you'll love this one. This is a node to the path that runs and circles around the entire park. This is called Philosopher's Way. It encircles McLaren Park. Well-worn, uneven cipher of dirt surrounds 5 neighborhoods. Arrows on short gray stone posts lead the way, traveled more by random hikers than by philosophers. Overlooking busy Visitation Valley, I followed the trail along the slope side into an area devoid of cool shade. The sun's bright, bleaching rays did something to these otherwise emerald hills, to my left and to my right, shimmering golden hills. Gray waves of amber overpower any traces of green.
Nice. When I used to live over on University Street, I was a short walk from there, and I used to go there all the time.
To Johanna and Uncle Ricky, rest in peace. Tonight, I honor you both.
The Allen, ladies and gentlemen.
All right, so we're going to take a brief break. We'll be back in about 5 or 6. There's a few people who wanted to sign up, so we'll take care of that. We'll be coming back. Just want to let you know that next week we have Bill Bartnaw as the speaker. He's come from the East Bay, a really great poet. And then the week after that, Clara Sue and I will be here honoring Don Brennan. He has the book that we put together posthumously will be out. It should be arriving, and we should have it, so it'll be a nice event then. So about 5 to 7 minutes, 10 minutes-ish, then we'll be back. So enjoy it. And the streaming will be off during this break time, so you can walk around and talk and not have to worry about it.